A few weeks ago, I shared with you my 1-year plan that I used to get in the best shape of my life and to win my division in Golden Gloves. Now in that video, I focused primarily on the conditioning portion over the first 4 months. Now I want to focus on the skills and technique portion over the second 4 months. And I want to share with you how I structured my training so that I stayed motivated and excited to keep learning, and how I developed the various skills that I wanted to develop. Having ran my own gym for 16 years now, I can tell the people who are gonna go home and put in the extra work and hit the bags and practice outside of class versus those who might say that they're going to, but then fall off. And it really comes down to 3 things. The first one is having a set goal with a time frame attached to it. If you don't have an endpoint that you're working towards, then it's going to be hard to stay motivated when the initial excitement wears off. The second thing that you need is a clear, structured plan. You know exactly what you're doing day to day, and there's a progression over time. And then third, you need a consistent, dedicated time to train every week. On your calendar, it is a date with yourself that you'd never miss. When I first opened up Austin Impact Jeet Kune, we were renting space from another martial arts school. And so we could only use their space 2 nights a week. And all of my students would show up flawlessly on those 2 nights. They would never miss. And then when we leased our own space and I could have classes every single day of the week, all of a sudden I noticed that some of my most dedicated students started to drop off. And what I realized was that when they only had 2 days to train, those days were blocked off on their calendar. They did not change them. Nothing would budge. And then when all of a sudden they had a lot of options, they could come to any class that they want, then it was easier for them to go, you know what? I think I'll stay in tonight. I can always go tomorrow. So I want you to block off 2 to 3 days at least that you're going to devote to training. Put it in pen on your calendar. It is a date with you and the heavy bag. Don't stand that poor bag up. Okay, so now I want to share with you how I structured my bag workouts when I was preparing for Golden Gloves so that you can see how I did it. You can take what works for you and create your own system. Now, if you have not seen my video that I did where I went over the 1-year plan and the overarching structure, I want you to go ahead and watch that video. I'm gonna put it somewhere up top here. Now, as I said, you need a goal with some sort of endpoint that you're working towards. And the beauty of the structured plan that I gave you in that last video is that you have several different goals and endpoints that you're moving towards. There is the monthly goals and endpoints, and then you have a 3-month structure, and then a 4-month structure, and then the full 1-year structure. So for myself, during these workouts, I knew that I just had to work hard for 4 months on the bag, and then I would have 2 weeks that was lighter training that was sort of my break. So I could always kind of look forward to getting to that endpoint. And so that was going to rinse and repeat for 4 months. I also chose 5 skills that I wanted to develop during this 4-month period. That was learning to keep my hands up, even when I was punching, always coming back, not winding up any punches, not jabbing and dropping my cross before I punch. 2 was developing good footwork, being able to move around, take angles on people. 3 was head movement, using constant head movement, keeping my head a moving target. 4th, establishing the jab, using it to set up combos, using it at the end of combos to get out, and probing with it, setting things up with it. And then 5th was changing up targets, hitting high, low, high, mixing those up, not just head hunting or just going for the body, but being able to blend that into combos. So those were the 5 skills I wanted to focus on. That was my goal for that 4 months. So now we get to the plan. How did I structure this so that I always knew what I was going to do for that day and I could see a clear progression over the 4 months? Well, what I did is I would break every 2 weeks into its own main workout. So I would do the exact same workout for 2 weeks, and then I would move to a new workout for 2 weeks. And then I'd have my 2 weeks that I sort of took off. I would still go and train, but I would allow myself to just kind of freestyle and not think too hard about everything that I was trying to focus on. And then I would do another 2 weeks of something and then change it up for another 2 weeks and then take another break. And by doing it that way, over the course of 4 months, I ended up with 6 different workouts, 6 2-week blocks. For the first 2 weeks, my focus was 100% on keeping my hands up. I would do all my bag rounds focused on keeping my hands up. Then the second 2 weeks, it was all footwork, always moving. If I'm not hitting the bag, I'm moving. And then after my break, then I would pick up where I left off. So then it was head movement. 2 weeks dedicated exclusively to head movement, then jabs, and then finally there was the changing up the levels, hitting high, hitting low. And then for the last 2-week chunk, I would mix them. So I would pick 2 and I would put them together. And so my focus would be hands up and footwork, or jabs and head movement. So now let's dig a little bit into the actual rounds that I did. So at the boxing gym that I was training at, we had a ton of bags. What I would recommend is do some mix of shadow boxing, heavy bag, a slip bag, a weave rope, and a double end bag. I picked those options for you because they're not that expensive other than your heavy bag, and they're pretty easy to build some sort of substitute in for if you need. And then I was doing 30-minute workouts broken into 2-minute rounds with a 1-minute rest in between. That comes out to 10 rounds. I took a spreadsheet and I just had rounds 1 through 10, and I would put exactly what I was doing in each round. Now, some of that was technique specific. So if I was trying to develop a very specific footwork technique, then I might have a round where I'm working a combination that blends that motion in. And then I also had a lot of rounds of freestyling. Freestyling shadow boxing, freestyling on the double end bag, of course freestyling on the heavy bag. So I would mix in with those so that I didn't just feel like I was doing the same thing over and over. I had a lot of variety. I would just have about 3 rounds on the heavy bag, 2 rounds on double end bag, 2 rounds of shadow boxing, and then the other bags were the remaining 3 rounds. Now at this time, I was training 5 days a week, and then on my time off, I would just train 2 days a week. But what I would recommend to you is to start with 3 times a week. That's a good, manageable routine. Again, having ran a gym for over 16 years, I can tell you the people who tend to fall off are either only training once a week, and so they never make progress and they fall off fast, or the ones who say they're gonna be in here every single day of the week training, and they also burn themselves out and fall off fast. So start off with something that you know you can commit to. And if you decide, hey, you know what, I wanna go down and get an extra workout in, think of that as just bonus. That's just the icing on the cake. You're just doing a little bit of extra. So I hope I've been able to provide you an idea of a structure. Now you don't have to follow my exact structure. I just wanted to give that to give you an idea of how you could apply it to your own situation. And in fact, with our gym, we now run what we call our 21-day Fit Warrior Challenge, which is a structured 21-day training program that is meant to be done, and then you take a break, and then you do it again. So it follows roughly the same idea that I just shared with you. How would you like to join me for a 21-day Fit Warrior Challenge live starting February 9th? This is an opportunity for you to get back in shape. I'm gonna give you a nutrition plan, a tracking sheet to track your workouts, and I'll be going live 3 days a week teaching a beginner's Jeet Kune lesson. So you can join me for that, for your workouts, or you can do something else. I'm excited about the channel, and I'm excited about the community I'm building, and I wanna do something together as a group. And so I'd love it if you join me. Go to a link in the description. It'll open up to a form where you fill in your information. I'll send you an email with the details as we get closer. If you give me your number, I'll also shoot you a text to just let you know when I've sent you the email so that if it goes to spam, you don't miss it, and we'll get rocking and rolling. This is absolutely free and purely just to get you results. Awesome, guys. Bye, bye, bye.